That
Recording in progress.
he's he's not the only person I know with a golf cart, though. I just want to say that out loud. There are several golf cart,
Okay.
Yeah,
but
and Dave kind of made it sound like I had some kind of weird obsession with Jeff Porcaro, but he's played on everything. So
I maintain it. I maintain
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean,
that.
you're probably just, doing that for, I mean, you like knew that he liked Jeff Porcaro and we're just like, oh,
Yeah.
I'll mention this to him or something. And,
yeah, yeah,
and then he kind of maybe just, I mean, I'm assuming you like Jeff Porcaro though, right?
yeah. No, I think he's good. He's not a technician. He's not a wizard. He's not a Neil Peart kind of guy, but he plays to the song, which is why I like him.
Yeah, totally. No, and
He is that. I mean, I am somewhat obsessed with him, yet I refuse to do any real cataloging in my head or research about him. So, I mean, I do want that information. And I want to say that quickly that, I mean, I just realized it lately how important he is to me. And he's not technical and stuff, but I watched a couple Bernard Purdy interviews and stuff. And I didn't realize this, but Porcaro's dad and Bernard Purdy did a bunch of sessions together and like jingles and movie soundtracks and
huh.
shit. And I, so Bernard was talking about Jeff Porcaro. I like to think of him as like, 12 or 13 years old, but in diapers still, going to his dad's sessions and like, sucking his thumb and sitting behind Bernard Purdy and saying, "How'd you do that?" After each shuffle he played or whatever. But I mean, Bernard did say he was at the sessions, and when we'd go to lunch, he'd get behind my drum set and blah blah. So it's not, it's not a wonder that I like the Steely Dan guys, and Toto guys and stuff. Anyway,
What's his dad's
John
name? I
Nathan.
want to say it's Marty Porcaro, but it's not. That's Marty Page, which is the David
Oh,
Page's father.
Toto guys, yeah.
so here we are.
We're going to talk
What do you
about
guys?
Stewart Copeland.
Let's do it.
Um, all
You guys
right.
just want to go around the room and say why you hate him?
No. Well, we'll start. I want to start off by, I mean, I actually like him a lot. I mean, but just not as a drummer. So let's see here. Um, let's see. Okay. Hang on. This is going to be painful for a second because for whatever reason. Um, there we go. Are we there? Can you see my screen, guys?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
Um, okay. Ready? This is
Shoot.
this is why I love Stewart Copeland. Because this thing that he was responsible for putting on the internet. Okay.
Plenty. That's plenty of it. Yeah.
Man, I watch that I go back to that a lot. I mean, it's just, man, I just love it. I mean, you know.
He's got the cocktail kit going.
No, I mean
Okay.
just the Shabba, Shabba.
I'm gonna let you guys go first, and then I'll try to defend him there at the end for a minute.
Well, so my thing on Stewart Copeland, I think it was Miles Davis that said, "Don't play what's there, play what isn't there," as his kind of one of his mantras. And I think Stewart Copeland tries to do that a little too hard. I don't know.
That's a
Um,
wow, that's a
Oh
really good
yeah, yeah,
point.
yeah.
That's a good thing to say. I like
I
it.
mean, the reggae thing, and flipping the up and down beat, he does a lot of that, and then he'll switch to a straight kind of groove. And I don't know. I just that's my thing. Like I told you yesterday, Dave. I don't hate the guy. I just think he's he just tries too hard at that.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like he's kind of, yanking the intentions around or something, like I mean, it's, I guess playing around with stuff is not bad in itself, but I mean, just something about, I guess the way he does it, just is not appealing to me. I remember, back in the early 90s, getting when all the drum instructional videos, and I mean there was just like a focus on like being a clinician and stuff, and like talking about people versus just being into, I guess it's kind of the same as just going to a concert back in the day and just experiencing it, but now it's just like everybody has their phones up or something,
Mhm.
um experiencing it through a video that they'll probably never watch again or something. Yeah, I don't know, that it's something similar in there to me. But in that period, in the early 90s, hearing people just going off about Stewart Copeland. I mean, I had Police albums, and I obviously heard stuff on the radio, and I mean, of course, Walking on the Moon was the thing that everybody wanted to talk about, at least back then. And it just didn't. I mean, it didn't do anything for me. I didn't really think about it a lot. You kind of get into, I guess when you're younger, you just kind of like absorb that. It's like there's almost kind of like there's just kind of like a gang or group mentality or an intimidation. Maybe people are not trying to intimidate you, but there's that pressure to just want to conform as a young person, to just, or just like not say anything, or just not try to explore what you don't like about something. But then you get older and you're like, man, why am I trying?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. John,
Well,
you
I
got
mean,
something to say?
well, I was just going to say on that song in particular, the kind of noodling he does on the hi-hats with that echo effect is like, and it
Right,
just kind of
right.
goes off. I actually kind of like that. But I mean, that's, I think, just something they figured out in the studio, and he just kind of, worked that thing in there. But yeah, I mean, that's a lot of that reggae thing again. And I mean, to your point, if you don't like something, don't try to force yourself if everyone else is into it.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know what Dave has to say about Mr. Copeland.
Uh, well, I'll start off with the admission that when I was in high school, I think I must have gone with Maria or maybe even Nathan. I went to see his rock opera after.
Didn't go with me, but that's
Okay,
funny.
okay.
Oh my God. I don't,
I
can't believe I
mean,
didn't know that.
and and that's when I realized some things, about how I could listen to it. I fucking hate reggae too. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like the ska shit. It's it's in the swing dance category, swing dance music for me or something like that. It's cherry pop and daddies type of crap. I mean, it's cringy shit before that word was a thing. But I guess maybe I like him for nostalgic reasons or something, or because I felt like I was in the same position he was in. Because when I was 16, I was in a band with two dudes that were way better than me, and it was a trio, and I just felt some
He's
connection
frozen.
between
You
here
froze. I
and
mean, you
drive
just like
moving,
you said I felt, and then you froze. So what did you say
bummer.
right after I
We,
felt?
we lost about 10 seconds there, bud.
Great. My connection is unstable. Am I back?
No, you're
Yeah.
fine. You're fine. Just
Okay, yeah. I mean, he had to do something in the trio of the band that he was in, and I had to do something in my trio, playing with two dudes that were better than me and 10 years older than me. You know what I mean? So I mean, there was something about the drive and the fury to like catch up to his two bandmates and then like pass them a little bit so he could drag them along, I felt like. I never liked it. I just liked his position in the band, for the most part, with the exception of a couple songs. I like Murder by Numbers. I like what he did on it. And yes, it was tricky. He was trying to be tricky and all that stuff. I feel sorry for him as a person, as a personality. I mean, man, everything he's ever put out is, it makes me feel like he was just the obsessed with drums nerd that got into all of the wrong things for all of the wrong reasons. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
but I mean, with the rock opera shit, and then Nathan and I watched this thing where he was in the studio doing some kind of production crap, and it was horrible. And you just feel like the pathetic nerd. He's the pathetic nerd in the band, but I still related to him in the try to keep it driving and type of thing. And I don't think he liked to do I think he probably, when Sting was, in his,
You froze again, bro.
I don't know, be like Texans and Tejano music or something. Am I frozen?
You
No,
did for
you're
a second
fine.
there.
You're
You're
good.
back.
You're back. Keep.
Okay, which I feel like maybe Stewart Copeland tried to get him off of that. And then pathetically, once he did get him off of the reggae stuff, Sting went solo,
Yeah.
and never did any reggae again, So I mean, there's a certain thing that, that I relate to about him with the trio stuff, with trying to play reggae when he didn't want to, and then finally getting Sting off of it and onto the pop songs and getting dropped. I mean, that's the general gist of it. And I mean, I mean, I'll say, everybody had splashes back then.
Yeah.
It's nobody liked him, but nobody liked him. Everybody had him, him with the addition of some rototoms too, and some
Yeah.
other stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, he put them in some pretty cool places, I thought, where they were just either naked or right before a snare drum hit, scat, scat, or opposite of
Yeah.
that, which at the time you weren't hearing Dave Weckl and Vinnie Colaiuta and other people with splashes. You weren't hearing them like on records do that. You would see an instructional video and they would be doing it, but you wouldn't hear it used in a song and stuff, except for I thought he did it of how it, for what it was intended
Yeah,
for.
like
That so there's my there.
well, like what I was saying, or we were saying in a different video, about where we were talking more about splashes and, like the worst symbols or whatever. Um, I mean, yeah, even though I really don't like his drumming, I mean, I think he's the best example of using a splash, for just objectively, not, for what it is, regardless of whether I like it or not. Um, I think he did it, he did
Yeah,
it well. I mean, I can understand why it works there. And I mean, I see, it's weird. It's like, there's something like, we go off, we're just like obsessed with Keith, speaking against Keith Carlack and stuff, and assassinating his character and playing and everything. But where that seems like a mystery to me, like, what is going on with people? Why do they think this guy has anything, I mean, not that he's not playing well and playing the notes well and in that regard, but just that his whole package is not there. And it's like, why aren't you seeing that? I mean, I can understand, I mean, it's not a mystery to me why Stewart Copeland is popular and is, like a pioneer or of a certain kind of drumming, or, or like an influence. It makes sense. I just don't. I mean, I just don't care. Don't like it.
A lot of people really fucking love Stewart Copeland, I mean, he's polarizing. It seems like the people that are into it are like way into Stewart Copeland, just not casually.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
yeah.
I don't really haven't. I guess I haven't met like too many people who are not into Stewart Copeland. I mean, he seems like like a drum, like you put him in, like most people would put him into a safe category of like it's safe to assume the majority is 95% of people are gonna say they at least like him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
And
okay, I gotta go ahead. Go ahead, John.
well, I just was going to say I agree with what you said about his use of splashes, and I was sidebar highly entertained by your hierarchy of symbols in your other video.
Yeah,
I was cracking up because Dave has seen my kit and played it a bunch of times, and he's like, the standard issue crash cymbal is feels like it used to be 16 inches. And like the Pisces are so brassy, and like my kid is have 3 crashes. 2 of them are 16-inch Pisces. So,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
no, but
Well,
it's
Stewart Copeland played those too.
Oh, he's a
P.S.
Pisces guy. I hadn't
Yeah,
never even thought about it. Huh.
yeah. But I,
yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah.
before we move on from the splashes, I couldn't help but mention my loathing for the guy that plays for Dave Matthews Band. I don't know his
Yeah.
name, but
Yeah, yeah,
Which
yeah,
Dave
yeah.
mentioned. Yeah.
I mentioned him. Yeah. I want
Ugh.
to say a Carter.
Yeah. You're frozen, but we know who you're talking about.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Carter.
But
Carter
that guy, I
Buford.
just want to say, calm the fuck down, dude. It's all over the place. Dave,
Wow.
you're frozen in a very
Brown
funny facial
Brownfield's a
expression.
tough place to be for the internet.
Damn it. Damn it. Damn it.
It's all
Am I
good.
back?
It's
Yeah.
okay, man. I mean, it's funny,
Am
I
I,
mean, it works. I think it's fine. Just roll with it. Yeah, but Carter. I mean, I want to call him Carter Bruford, but
am I
I'm
back?
not.
You're back. We got you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Carter Buford. Yeah, that guy. Okay, and I had one more. I had another quick one about the. Uh, I mean, during this time when everybody had their fucking ice bells, and then there was the mini ice bell. Remember that one? Like
Oh,
it would
wow.
sit on top of a crash or something like that. That was when they realized putting a huge, um, you know,
Yeah.
World War I helmet on your drum set was was tough. Then they did the mini one. It would be hung upside down, and on that set, and probably Stewart Copeland is guilty of all of those. Used him better than Carter Buford or Bruford, but we didn't mention this. This was so around that time, before there was any stigma about those extra bullshit symbols. I didn't ever have one of these, I don't think. But I mean, people were just getting like things like brake drums or cymbal spokes. Remember that? Do you remember cymbal
Oh,
spokes?
wow. Uh,
It looked like what holds a rototom. Just
yeah,
like
yeah, 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 yeah. Okay.
these
Yeah,
things. I mean, which is uh, also in the really ridiculous category, but they were,
yeah.
I saw them. I
I
saw
mean,
them coming
yeah,
up.
just something for LP or Remo to capitalize on, just like
Mhm.
people's out of the box interest or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
on those
yeah,
ice bells, I worked at Guitar Center in the drum department in the early '90s, and we fucking had a field day with those. I couldn't figure out like how to actually play it or what to do with it. I mean, we
I
would
mean,
get boxes of gear and we just open that shit up, and there was nobody there to tell us like, here's what this is for, here's what genre is used for and played in, and we just kind of fucked around with it
well,
and
that's
couldn't
what
figure
that's what Tim Alexander is for, to teach us how to use an ice bell.
it out.
that's the Primus guy. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned all this to uh, one of our friends. I'm not gonna throw the whole thing under the bus because the drummer still probably in the band probably still has one, but he was saying, yeah, man, I've looked at his ice bell, and yes, it looks like a World War I helmet and everything on the outside, on the outside. But he goes, have you ever looked inside of one of those? It just looks like brains. It just looks like brass brains. They didn't finish it. It's just like
Yeah,
lumpy,
yeah,
lumpy
that's funny. Like a bunch
stuck
of thumb
shit stuck
smears
on the inside of it.
everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, who the
Um,
fuck?
before I want to say something though. I mean, I was that when we were talking, just mentioning Tim Alexander teaching us how to use an ice bell. I mean, I think about him every time, because my wife likes to go to this particular hibachi grill place, and whenever the guy does the choo choo train, fills the onion, the inverted onion rings with oil and lights it on fire, and then
Yeah.
ding 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 ding. He's pushing it with the spatula. It's like I think of too many puppies.
Oh, I love
Wow,
it.
that's
That's
good.
great.
That's good. Oh, that's nice.
Oh, you know,
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
but
and Nathan and I mentioned this too.
okay, well, he's frozen. Stewart Copeland, getting just briefly getting back to him. Yeah, I mean, I guess he's yeah. I mean, you said he's like maybe one of the original drum nerds, you know, that before that thing was defined, you know, that and that's a good point. He was like the it's like, man, I don't even know if you're hearing this, Dave, you know, because I I would like you to hear it, but maybe he was the pioneer of being a drum nerd. You know, he was like the original drum geek, you know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean,
I think that's fair.
I'm trying to, you know, it's like I haven't thought about this at all. But I mean, now that we're focusing on it, I'm trying to, I'm like, my brain is just like going through he's just flipping around. Oh boy, we completely
Lost
lost
it
it.
altogether. Poor Dave.
All
He's
right,
probably like,
I'm gonna text him and just tell him to follow the link again. I mean,
there he is. He's
here
got
he
it.
comes.
Well, so
He got bumped down in priority. All right, now it's you and me are.
Damn.
there he is. You know, I've seen him interviewed, and we're back to Stewart Copeland, Dave. And I, you know, he's actually personable and funny, and
All
like
right.
Oh yeah,
if he's not behind the drum set, you know, I want to hear what he has to say. I mean, it's interesting to hear him talk about his approach to music and that kind of thing. It's just different.
oh, what I was saying, I don't know if you heard Dave, but I was saying, you know, you were mentioning that he was the original, or that he was a drum nerd, and it just made me think like, wait a second, was he the original? Was he like the formative drum geek or drum nerd, like hyper fixating on, you know, certain elements? You know, I mean, where it wasn't so much defined at one time. I guess it become more defined in the '90s, but you know, I'm trying to think, you know, roll through drummers before him in the '70s, and I can't think of somebody who just seemed like a drum geek. Um, or where somebody maybe it wasn't so much that he was a drum nerd, but you know, like he maybe he was, but people just started like wanting to place, you know, that label. You know, they didn't know like what is this thing I want to put on him, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it is called yet. And then the '90s come along, and Dennis Chambers comes along, and it's like, oh, okay, it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And he would be like technically the worst one of all of those. I mean, of the Dennis Chambers, type, the lowest rung in that shit. Well, but yes, they're also like he would do stuff that would raise a red flag. He would have symbols that were red or green or something, and that's just generally a flag if somebody's got a colored symbol. And then also he wore golf gloves, drum gloves and stuff,
oh
which
wow.
I mean, I was just like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, just like
I
you're
know
just like
what you're
at
talking
that
about. I
point, you're
don't
just
know
like,
I
no
didn't know he
way.
did that. That's it. It's great.
It completely fits.
Okay, well, we can put a link. We're gonna have to put a link in the description of this. I only saw this recently. I played it with my son. We watched it a bunch, but there's a Wrapped Around Your Finger live, the Police reunion or something. And dude, I just want to. Okay, so you guys haven't seen that.
You talking about the watermelon?
He
Am I
frozen.
gone?
And good old West Texas.
To do this again? I'm
He's
afraid we
probably
have
on a
to
mobile
do this
hotspot.
again. We have to do this again.
You
Damn
started
it.
out why? No, it's fine. I mean,
Oh,
you
okay.
know,
Okay, you finally got there. All right, look. The
you're talking about the
he
watermelon?
so y'all watermelon.
Oh, okay, never mind. Go ahead.
So he's playing Wrapped Around Your Finger. This whole thing is a case for stay in your lane that we were talking about. He obviously could not stay in his lane, right? I mean, I liked it. He had so many cymbal trees and just auxiliary gongs and shit. I mean, he was completely encased in all of that crap. and then at some point, and he's playing all auxiliary percussion until one part in the song where he has to scurry out from behind all of the shells that he's been shaking and run over to the drum set for the actual drum set part of it. And I mean, I think that was his complete demise at that point, because I feel like he was sponsored by Peisty. And he was like, well, guys, for this tour, dot, 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 and then I just see a 16 wheeler, pulling out every cymbal that they've ever had, setting up all that shit for him for this one song, that he thinks that makes it, I mean, he's like, yep, I deserve this now. You know what I mean? It's you wouldn't you at first it's gonna be funny, but then you feel sad for him. You just feel sad for him. And it's like, okay, well, this was the end of his relationship with Peisty.
Yeah, I think that this is
I'm
just
gonna I'm gonna make you guys watch it. We should put the link and then just the
okay. This Jesus Christ. This is making me think that about something that just about um with having a craft for your instrument and being obsessed with your instrument, that there's got to be some shame involved with it. And if you're just like if you're just kind of an eager beaver, and just being like, hey, here's this other thing, why not just incorporate it, or why not do this, I mean, I feel like people want to put that in an open-minded category, but I mean, a lot of times with the wrong person or whatever, it just goes into like a watered down and shameful category instead of, 'cause, I mean, you've just got to have some kind of embarrassment or whatever, unless you're just trying to make a joke of it, and then even then, is the joke going to be successful or not?
Yeah. Well, to that point, I'm a huge John Bonham fan. That's how I learned how to play drums. I've got a green sparkle 1970s Ludwig. I mean, like I'm into John Bonham, but the hi-hat tambourine, like, what the fuck was that? Did we really need to go there? I mean, and so I nerd out on gear, and I think Dave does too. And I want my cymbals to sound a certain way, and we geek out on that kind of stuff. But it's your core 4-piece kit, and I may swap out my snare drum, but I'm not adding cowbells. And I forgot, some guy on Instagram, I saw this reel, was making fun of like all these drummers out there now that are posting on Instagram, and they got like fucking coat hangers and shit stacked on their hi-hats and just random household objects to make different sounds. And it's just gotten out of hand.
Yeah, I mean, it's just well, and the thing is like, well, I don't know, all that stuff is just about intention and origin, I think. I mean, it's like, where did it come from? If it's just like, we've just gotten to the point where now, I don't know, I have this thought that like, you should be ashamed of yourself if you try to expand your vocabulary, like just English language. If you
sure.
try to expand your vocabulary after like you're like an age of learning, because if you do, then you're just gonna be an asshole. I mean, it's like if you get into a certain age and you haven't learned these certain words. I mean, I guess if you get into an industry where you have to use certain jargon or technical terms, then I mean, I guess that's where you're like paid to. It's like, I have to use this stuff. But I mean, if you're doing something like, hey, I'm 45 years old, and my deal is that I like to learn a word a day or something, and then you just start using that in conversations or in comments and Facebook and stuff. And I think it goes into it kind of like buzzwords and just like certain phrases that people latch on to use. It's like they carry whoever he does it first, it carries some little packet of energy, and and somebody sees that and they say, I want in on that. I feel the energy coming from that word, and I want to I want people to think that I'm riding that wave. And so they start doing it, and it catches on, and that's just kind of like catchphrases or whatever. I mean, so I think that the same thing goes with that, with auxiliary and unusual percussion stuff. I mean, it's like, where are you coming up for this? I mean, realistically, what you're doing is you either saw something on TikTok or some video do it nowadays, or um, or you're just trying to you're just like in a mode of like outdoing, or like, what, okay, this person did this, I got to kick it up a notch or kick it down a notch, like, like using something that's terrible. And I don't know, that stuff just doesn't seem to have any like authentic energy or anything behind it, whereas, um, I I guess I'm just trying to make an excuse for myself, because I used to, back in the 90s, I used to, put a piece of gutter pipe across two cymbals, like where the wing nuts for these two cymbal stands were, like, it was just like laying behind the two things, and I was doing experimental music and stuff at the time. But it was just kind of like, I just found that, somehow I found this piece of gutter pipe behind that rent house I was living in, and I just like hit it with a stick. I was just like, oh, I guess I need to put this out by the curb, and I, just like picked up a stick and hit it, and I was like, huh. And then, I was like, I wonder what this. So I put it up on the cymbals, and what it did was it amplified, the. I mean, like, they were all amplifying each other to some degree, like putting your cell phone in a solo cup or something. Um, and I mean, it sounded good, and I for what I was doing, I mean, but I feel like those were the days when that stuff. I mean, it's just like easy to say for you, you're the one
Yeah.
saying this, but that was in the 90s, and there wasn't the internet, and there wasn't really any kind of like race or competition to do that kind of stuff necessarily.
Uh, can you guys see my screen?
No.
Yes.
I mean, I can see you.
Okay.
There it
Now,
comes. Yeah, it's coming.
okay. Hold on to your hats if you can. Just give me
Yeah.
give me a second.
Hey, I mean, that if that's all we see, it's good.
Okay, I mean, this, I got it pulled up as a little visual for everybody.
Oh my God. Jesus. I mean, it's just,
Oh.
Hang on.
oh my God, I love the sand dollar tree. I mean, that's incredible.
And the gloves and the mallets. Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Little treat for you guys.
Oh my God. Well,
Okay, here's where he comes out. Here's where he comes out of his cage. Yes.
now he's back in his lane,
Yeah.
but he's got boo
Here he
band.
comes. Here he comes. All right. So,
Um, yeah, you can get rid of that.
I'm trying. I don't know how. I don't know
There
how to
should be
get.
a thing at
I'm
the top
stuck.
that says leave,
Okay.
you know,
Stop share. Okay. All
stop
right.
share.
All right.
Um, First of all, I
That's
want to say
amazing.
I feel like we're going to run out of time before I get to say this. Emaciated Herman Munster.
He needs to work on his posture for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like
Did you
he's
say
always reminded me
emaciated
of
her
he's always reminded me of Fred Gwynn, and yeah,
Munster?
yeah, and then also like, yeah, well, yeah, go ahead. Oh, his
There's
music.
somebody else talking.
Okay, just real quick. Also, I wanted to say about his. He stopped. He was like he took a break from drumming and he started doing soundtracks. And I mean, I just want to say something about soundtracks. I don't like him. I mean, there's something. It's weird. He's one of those people that like you. There's qualities about the music, his soundtrack stuff that you want to like. I mean, it's like love. Hey, you're using the right sounds. You trying to go for a vibe that's cool, but I mean, he doesn't have the gift of, like we were talking about the other day, the gift of melody or something, that just kind of like makes it totally work. I mean, I feel like it's just his name and means that gets him there. Anyway, I'm sorry, we're about out of time. Any like 2-second bites you got?
No, I appreciate Dave sharing the shark jumping of his drumming career. That was brilliant.
All right, well, guys, hey, good Stewart talk. All right, we'll see you later.
Later, Dave. Later. Good to meet you.